right, so hi everyone. Thank you so much again for coming. I'm really excited for this event. And I want to thank Miss America for joining us today for our virtual event with our VAVA Science Club. We're so excited for you to be here to present for us and answer questions. And I also, just before we get started, have to thank our middle school team of teachers, especially Mrs. Owens, who's a wonderful science teacher and science club advisor, your administrators and all of our staff at Virginia Virtual Academy for supporting science and really allowing these amazing opportunities for all of you. So thank you so much, and I will leave it to you, Miss America. Thank you so much.
Hi guys! I realized I forgot one really important thing because I'm so distracted by my computer that I need to put this on. This is a, look, it's a little crooked. There we go. So this is a perfect representation of why science, technology, engineering, and math are so important because we had some technical difficulties. And so it's one of those moments where we just rely on this technology. But I think about how if we, we're all learning from home, we're working from home, and what would we do if we didn't have computers right now? And what would we do if we didn't have the internet or our phones or, an iPad to learn from? We wouldn't be able to do what we can right now. And so this entire process that we've all gone through as a community and as a society, I think is really interesting because we're learning how much that science and technology is part of our lives. So that's my little shtick. So I am sorry it took me so long to get on here. My video wasn't working, but we figured it out. So I'm Camille. I'm Miss America. I am based in Pennsylvania, so a little bit far from you guys, but I was originally Miss Virginia, and I lived in Virginia for 5 years. My parents are in Pennsylvania, and so I'm with them right now. So I'm going to go in. You can probably see my PowerPoint slide. Let me see if I can change it. There we go. Okay, so who am I? I'm just the girl that came and visited your class today virtually. I'm a self-described nerdy scientist. I'm a biochemist. I have a degree in biochemistry from Virginia Tech. I also have a degree in systems biology. Love science, always have my whole life. I am now a doctor of pharmacy student. So you can see I've got that white coat on in the far right photo. That is me at my pharmacy school, and now I'm studying to get a doctorate in pharmacy. I have 2 cats. Their names are Cappuccino and Latte, and they are my little fur babies. I love them. And then I'm Miss America, which is my side job right now, but quite literally it is a full-time job for me. So just like maybe mom and dad or your older brothers or sisters might go to work every day, I am Miss America every day. And I'm just going to give you a little background about what that means. But first of all, I told you that I love science. It's always been my favorite subject. It's what I've loved for my entire life since I remember. And so if you look at that picture all the way on the right, the little girl with the crazy hair, that's me when I was like 5 years old. I loved science my whole life. It was never a question of if I wanted to be a scientist. It was just what I was going to do with it. There's a picture right under the why I love, and that is me working in a research lab in college where I did research on genetics. And then the other 3 pictures kind of have to do with why I'm Miss America. And science really played a huge part in that, which can kind of sound confusing because you wouldn't think of science and Miss America going together, but maybe you should. So let's talk a little bit about that. So what in the heck is Miss America? What is this job? You guys have probably seen maybe a girl with a crown on before. This is a very special job I have. There's one girl from every state that gets to go and compete for Miss America. You have to win your state, so I had to be Miss Virginia first. We were live on television, and I got to win almost $75,000 of scholarship money by becoming Miss America. But it's really a job, and I travel around the country normally when I'm not quarantined in my house, doing events, talking about social issues, and really spreading positivity throughout the country. How do you become Miss America? A question I get asked all the time. I had to go through an interview, which can be kind of scary. There's a talent portion of the competition, which we're going to talk about in a moment. I had to do an onstage question. I had to talk about my own social issue, and I talk about drug safety and abuse prevention, so you know that drugs are bad. But we talk about how even medicines that seem like they're completely safe, if you use them wrong, or if you take someone else's medicines, that they can be just as dangerous as drugs. I wore my evening gown and I competed on stage, and a group of judges who I'd never got to meet before, I met them when I got there, got to pick who I was. So those are some pictures of me at Miss America. You can see my banner with Virginia on it. Oh, I missed a slide. Hold on. Okay, and here's the other thing. You guys might play sports in school. And Miss America is kind of like sports, because maybe you're on your school team or a local team and you qualify for the state championship. So I went and I had to win something called a local competition, and I won the title of Miss Dominion. So that allowed me to go and qualify for the state championship, which was Miss Virginia. And then winning Miss Virginia qualified me to go to the national championship, which is like the Super Bowl, and I got to go to Miss America, and I won. So that's just a little progression, so you can see kind of how that journey looks. And it took about a year to go from that first picture to the last, but it was totally crazy. But here's the thing, and I talked about this without really referencing it. I never thought that I could be Miss America, because we talked about that talent portion of the competition. And normally, the talent portion at Miss America looks like this. And so some of you maybe can sing, maybe you can dance. There's a woman playing a violin there, so maybe you play an instrument. There's a girl who is a baton twirler in the bottom right corner. That's the talent that you see at Miss America. And there's a woman with puppets. She's a ventriloquist. And these 5 pictures are really the only talents that people see at Miss America. It's not like America's Got Talent. It's really only those 5 that you ever see. And there's not a rule that says that you have to only do those 5. And guess what? I can't do any of those 5. And so I never thought that I could be Miss America, because I don't have any one of those talents. And so I pretty much decided I don't have any talent. I'm not a talented person. I can't be Miss America, which is so silly and so untrue. And we talked about how much I loved science when I was a kid. And that is still so true. It's what I majored in college. Told you I got a degree in biochemistry. I did research in undergrad. I'm getting a doctor of pharmacy. I love science. And just like maybe that girl in the middle who's doing a pirouette, maybe she went to dance lessons since she was 4. Well, I loved science since I was 4. And that's what I've done my whole life. And so I figured, why not? So I took a risk, and I decided to do a science demonstration for my talent at my local competition when I won Miss Dominion, at Miss Virginia, and at Miss America. And I never, ever thought that that would allow me to win Miss America, allow me to win Miss Virginia, or really win anything at all. Because you're not going to win Miss America with a science demonstration, right? Not true. And more so than just the science that we talk about, there's a greater message, and it's right up there in the title of this slide, and it says being yourself. And so maybe you've been in a situation where you feel like you're comparing yourself to your friends, or you're comparing yourself to somebody you see in a magazine or on social media. Don't do that. Don't compare yourself to the other people around you. Be who you are. And even if that seems really crazy, everyone probably looked at me like, this girl's going to come out and do a science demonstration on stage. I got a lot of people that were like, how's that going to go? Well, if I hadn't taken that risk and just completely stayed true to who I was, I wouldn't have stood apart from the group. And when we go and get a job later in life, one of the most important things is figuring out what differentiates you from everybody else. Not in a way that's trying to be like boastful or saying, you know, I'm so much better than everyone else. That's not what I'm saying. But figuring out what skills and talents that you have that make you different from the person next to you. Because when you stand out from the group, that's what sets you apart. And so when I'm competing against 50 other women across the country, doing something really different made me stand out. And honestly, it allowed me to be successful and really helped me win Miss America. So the picture that you're looking at right now is my science demonstration on the preliminary night at Miss America. I have sparkly pants on, I have my lab coat on, and I have my pink safety goggles on, and that demonstration is called elephant's toothpaste, also known as the catalytic decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. And I think I sent your teacher a link to it. If she can pull it up for me, that would be amazing. But if not, we can do it at the end.
I do have it. I will grab it right now.
We got it going.
All right, guys, so I'm going to also put...
The catalytic decomposition of hydrogen peroxide is the chemistry demonstration by Camille Schreier, Miss Virginia.
Science is all around us. I've loved science since I was a little girl, and now I have the opportunity to pursue the career in science that I had always dreamed of. Science is a talent, and it's my mission to show kids that science is fun, relevant, and easy to understand. Now, you've probably seen a bottle of hydrogen peroxide, maybe when you had a cut and used it to clean out the wound. Hydrogen peroxide is a chemical that's breaking down slowly all the time. But have you ever wondered why it's packaged in a brown bottle? It's because the light from the sun speeds up its breakdown, so it's packaged in a dark bottle to protect it from light. But light and time aren't the only things that break down hydrogen peroxide. Catalysts are chemicals that are used to speed up reactions. And what we're about to watch is the catalytic decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. But be careful, don't try this one at home. Now, in my flasks are concentrated hydrogen peroxide, food coloring, and dish soap. I'm about to pour in potassium iodide, my catalyst, which will start the breakdown. Now, this reaction is very simple. It only produces three things: water, oxygen, gas, and heat. The heat is formed from the breaking of the bonds within the hydrogen peroxide molecule, and the oxygen gas is trapped in the dish soap, which forms the foam so we can see how far the reaction has progressed. Now, the next time that you see a bottle of hydrogen peroxide, I hope you impress your friends with what you've learned. And keep an eye out, because science really is all around us.
Okay, I had to turn my microphone back on. So that's the video of exactly that picture that you're seeing right here on this slide. And I want you to imagine I'm backstage. The girl before me is a dancer. The woman after me is a singer. And everyone's lined up with their dance shoes. Some of them have instruments. They had their microphones ready to be able to sing. And I'm there with my lab coat, trying to get on my safety gloves and put on my goggles. And sometimes you find yourself in these situations where you're wondering, wow, I know I'm doing something completely different than everyone else. And that can be scary. And you'll find that situation when you're around your friends maybe. And even in a situation where maybe you're hanging out with people and people are making bad choices around you, and you're that only person who makes a good choice. And that can feel really uncomfortable. And that's exactly how I felt backstage. And what's really important about this is that the fact that I stayed true to who I was is what helped me to be successful in the end. So whether or not it's being in a situation with drugs and alcohol and being the one person that chooses to not do that, or if you are the crazy science nerd and you're the one person who comes out and blows stuff up on stage, it's almost the same. And so think about that, because I know that I'm a lot older than you all. I'm 24. And so I'm kind of an adult, but not really an adult, just saying. But I, even still at 24, constantly feel myself wondering, should I be like that person? And I remind myself, no, because who I am is completely enough. And it's cool to be different. And so I just wanted to share that with you. But science is also super cool. And honestly, being able to show science in this way was a dream come true, because I love science so much. And even right now, we were talking about the technology issues that we had when we were figuring out how to all get connected here, or really me trying to get connected on here. Science is what built our computers that we're all sitting on right now. Science is what's figuring out how to test for the coronavirus that's spreading. Science is what's what makes my cell phone work and allows my phone to connect to the internet. Science made the plastic on my AirPods. Science was in the hairspray that I sprayed on my hair this morning. If you've ever baked, I love baking. I bake and cook all the time, and that was one of the things that I really liked as a kid that taught me to love science, because when you put cookie dough in the oven, it completely changes. It comes out as cookies. You can't turn that cookie back into cookie dough. And it's because there's a chemical reaction that happens there. When you fry an egg, there's a chemical reaction that happens. When you make pizza dough, which is my favorite thing to make, by the way, you use yeast. It's in bread. That yeast is alive, and it makes it rise. Why does that happen? It's science. It's biology. It's a living organism. And so when I say in that video at the very end, I stick my arms out like this, and I say, science really is all around us. Think of that every day. When you go around your house, what you touch, whether or not it's the ketchup in your fridge, pizza dough, your computer, everything that you touch, a scientist has helped design in some way, whether it's the material, the product, the hardware on your computer, literally everything. And that's why I love science so much, because it is relevant to every single thing we do. I love learning about how things apply to real life. I was one of those students in school, and you might feel the same way. You learn something and you're like, where am I going to use this? That was how I was, and that's why I loved science, because I could see how it touched everything in my life, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to use this. And I also really like fun facts. So I have a lot of science fun facts that I have stored in my brain. So that is me doing my science. Let's see what I have next. So I kind of just talked about this. It's really cool to be different, actually. Some people, you know, at least when I was younger, my friends always wanted to be like each other. We didn't want to stand out in a group. We didn't want to draw attention to ourselves. But it's really actually kind of cool to be the different person. So there's me on the left. The left photo is at Miss America, right when I was on the final telecast. It was live on TV. There are 3 celebrity judges in front of me. One of them is Kelly Rowland, who is a famous singer. And they were giving me feedback on how they liked my talent. And then on the right picture, that was actually while I was still Miss Virginia. I am the person all the way on the left, dressed in my lab coat with a face mask on. The person next to me, to my, I guess in this picture in the middle, is Kelly Clarkson, who is a famous singer. She has a talk show in California, and she invited me to come be a guest on her talk show and perform a science demonstration. So that is why I was there and why I'm dressed like that. And we made a giant nitrogen cloud that you can also find on YouTube if you put in Miss Virginia and Kelly Clarkson. And then over farther on the picture is Jessica Alba, who is a famous actress, and Kelsey Ballerini, who is a country music artist. And so we all together, I led it, but we all did a science demonstration. And here's the cool thing. If I had just done something expected, if I had just sang or danced, which also, let me say this, if your natural talent is singing, dancing, playing an instrument, or, you know, doing ventriloquism or any of those things, then do that. But don't just do that because you think that you have to. So let me just put a little caveat there, because it's so important to be yourself. It's just that wasn't who I am. But doing something different, like doing science, gave me the opportunity to get this kind of opportunity. I got to go out and be on a TV show in California, where maybe if I had just done something traditional, I wouldn't have had that opportunity, because it was kind of what had been expected in the past. And so my ability to do something different brought more opportunities. It's kind of like if you think about why you would buy something in the store. Would you buy something that you already have, or would you buy something new? So I was kind of like buying something new. I wanted to bring something new into this place where no one had ever used science before. And so it made people really excited, and they wanted to buy something new. They wanted to see Miss Virginia do science. Now people get to see Miss America do science. And you kind of got to see Miss America do science today. And so this is the message that I want to leave you guys with today, is no matter what you do, no matter what you like, success will come when you embrace your authentic self. Be you and don't try to be anybody else. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying just before. If you're a dancer and that's your talent, if you've done that your whole life, then be a dancer. If you were going to compete at Miss America, then dance. If you are maybe a boy watching this who can't compete for Miss America, this does not exclude you, because no matter what you do in your life, don't do something just because someone else did. Don't major in college in something that your parents told you to do if that's not really what you want to do. Don't decide that you like something just because your friend does. Figure out what you like and then do that. Because and I've learned that throughout my life, even being in college and figuring out what I wanted to study, and even down to like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Don't just be something when you grow up because some cool person that you like is that too. Figure out why you want to do that from inside. And then that's what's going to help motivate you, because science is a subject, and pretty much anything that you study in college, it's going to get hard. And when you find that moment where you get demotivated and you get stuck, if you have a love and a passion for something from inside, every moment that you get stuck and you get demotivated, if you go back to that passion, that's what will help you push forward. But if you're not really motivated by that, for example, I went to college and I majored in something that I didn't like in the beginning, and that's not what I graduated with. But I started in a major that everybody told me that I should do, because everyone told me that it would be a great idea. And I hated it. And when it got really hard, I just wanted to give up. And it made me think that I didn't like science because it was an engineering degree. Made me think that I wasn't good at STEM or science, technology, engineering, and math because I didn't like the program I was in, which is not true. And if you get to that point and you don't have that inherent love and interest, it's going to get really difficult. So I encourage you, first of all, to explore, because exploring is probably the best thing that I did at a young age. Figure out the things that you like, what you don't like, try new things. If you maybe see someone that's a friend of a parent and you like their job, call them, see if you can go to work with them one day and see what they do. If you are interested in a career, I was like, I want to be a meteorologist, like on the weather. And I shadowed a meteorologist. I went in and saw what they did for a day, and I was like, I don't like this. I don't want to do this for my job in just one day. And I figured out what I did like and what I didn't like, and it took exploration to do that. So don't be afraid, kind of like taking a risk and doing a science demonstration. Don't be afraid to take a risk, try new things, figure out what you like and what you don't like. So that's what I have for you today. I tried to speed up a little bit because I know I got a little bit behind in the beginning, but I want to make sure that I leave some time for all of you to ask me questions. And I know that we're going to have a little bit of a question and answer session here. So literally any questions that anybody has that you want to ask me can be about college. It can be about living in Virginia, me being in Pennsylvania, about the coronavirus. You can ask me about my cats. They might show up in the video. Who knows? But you can also ask me about science, being Miss America, literally anything at all. I'm happy to answer.
All right, Miss America, so I am just taking a peek in the chat box. So our first question is, can you become Miss America twice?
That's a really good question. You cannot become Miss America twice. You can only ever be Miss America once, and you're really lucky if you get to be Miss America once. So yes, you can only be Miss America one time. I will do it hopefully for a year, but maybe my year will get cut short because of this whole craziness going on, but I hope not. So that's not too long.
Thank you. Our next question is, what are your cat names?
It's a great question. So I really like coffee. I have my coffee here. My cats are named after coffee. Their names are Cappuccino and Latte. And that is just born from how much I really love coffee. And they're both girls. They're a little overweight, and they really like to snuggle. So I really have fun with them. They're happy I'm home.
They sound super sweet. Have you done pageants most of your life, or was this more recent?
That's another really good question. So I have not done pageants my whole life. I did a couple competitions, and I really say competitions because the word pageant, I think a lot of the time associates with like those shows like Toddlers and Tiaras, which is so not true. But I competed from the age of 14 to 18. And then when I was 18, I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I felt like I had gotten a lot out of it. I learned how to speak on stage. I learned how to interview. I was comfortable in front of people. And I said I would never do it again. And then 6 years later, when I was 24, I decided to compete for the local competition, Miss Dominion. So I took 6 years off and then went back to this. So I competed for 4 years as a teen, but definitely not something I did my whole life. And I never thought that I would actually compete after 18. But I did it, and we see how that turned out.
Awesome. Let's see. I'm sorry. I'm scrolling through. What is your hobby?
What are my hobbies? I'll talk about this a little bit. My favorite hobby is cooking and baking. So I live with my parents still, and all the time I make dinner for my mom and dad and me because I love cooking. I think it's the perfect blend of art and science together because it's all based upon science, but you have to have this artistic creativity to make a good meal. And I also really like food. So I'm going to go with cooking. Second hobby, eating, because when I'm on the road, I travel across the country around 20,000 miles a month when I actually am traveling. I change cities about every 72 hours or 24 hours sometimes. And I get to go eat at really fun restaurants. I also I know how to do floral arranging. I took a really cool class in college. If you've ever seen like a really fancy floral arrangement at a wedding or like so that someone will give you for a birthday, I took a class in college on how to make those. And so I feel like I'm a little bit of a florist, and I really like plants. So it kind of goes along with it.
Awesome, thank you. So there was a question, is there a guy version? I'm thinking that's of Miss America.
Yeah, so I get this question a lot. Is there a Mr. America? There is not, which is kind of sad for you guys. But it doesn't mean that there's not places that you can find these skills. I think that being able to put yourself out in front of people, learn how to learn how to do public speaking, learn how to interview. Those are all important skills. So figure out ways that you can get them. But I'm sorry that there's not a Mr. America.
Okay, why did you choose that certain experiment to do for Miss America?
I chose that very strategically. And so I'm glad that you asked this question because it was definitely a specific choice. That demonstration is so easy to make really small or huge, depending on how much liquid that you use to put in. And so I was performing in an arena where there was 10,000 people watching. And I needed to make sure that everyone in the back of the room could see my demonstration. I didn't want it to be small because, especially with a talent like science, I wanted everyone to get really excited about it and see all the colors. So I picked that because I knew I could make it colorful. I knew I could make it really, really big. And it was relatively safe and easy to transport to the competition. I actually couldn't fly to the competition because the chemicals can't go on a plane. So I drove. So there are lots of reasons that I had to choose that one, but I'm so glad that I did. And it's one of my favorite ones to do because it's so fun.
It is. It is fun and it looks fun too. It's impressive, I think.
Thanks. I tried.
So this is a good one. What do you want to be remembered for, and what do you want to do after you are done being Miss America?
This is a great question, deep question. I keep feeling like I'm saying this is a great question, but these are all really good questions. I think that more than anything, I want to be remembered as the Miss America who wasn't afraid to be different. I think there's this perception, and you guys might have a perception of who Miss America is or what Miss America looks like or acts like. And I want to change that because Miss America is supposed to be a real person. I'm not a unicorn. I'm not a fairy. I don't know. I'm a real human, and I want to change everything about what we think Miss America is. And so I hope I'm remembered for being different. But after my year, second part of your question, I will go back to school. So I am still in my doctoral program, going to get my doctor of pharmacy. That is a 4-year program. So I already graduated college, and then I decided to go to school for 4 more years. So I have 3 more years left. And then I'm hoping to work in a pharmaceutical company, so the people that make medications. I hope to work for them, any pharmaceutical company, after I'm done, and figure out how to combine business and science into something really cool.
Oh, I see. Mrs. Winslow, did you have a question that you wanted to hop on the mic and ask? I saw Mrs. Mullins type that in there. No? Okay,
Well, you know
I'll
what?
keep going through.
I think she I think Mrs. Winslow typed her question in the box. It says, what would you say to students learning math right now? Do you believe that math is used in the real world? I'm going to answer that one really quick. Absolutely, math is used in the real world. I use math probably every single day. I'm going to go back to my cooking and baking example. If you're ever trying to bake a cake or make a recipe, you have to know how to use math. I use math every time that I make something in the kitchen. Math is important in understanding how to manage your money. So if you're making sure that you're paying your bills and keeping enough money in your bank account, math is important. Budgeting to make sure that you have enough money to pay what you need to pay. And then in my job, a lot of what I use, in pharmacy, when I'm studying medications and I'm figuring out how much medication each person needs to get, that is so much math. And so I use math almost every single day, and that's probably of every subject that I learned in school, except for writing. I do use a lot of my writing skills every single day, but math and writing are probably the 2 that I use the most every day right now, and then science when I'm actively working in school to learn about pharmacy. So absolutely, math is used all the time, so learn it and you will be happy when you're done because you'll be able to do so much with that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that too, for finding that question in there. I did see a couple questions about how Virginia Tech is and how you like it. It seems some of our students might be interested in going there.
Mm-hmm. So I'm looking up because I have all my Virginia Tech stuff. I have my big Virginia Tech banners here. I am the most obnoxiously proud Virginia Tech alumni. I got to go on the field at Virginia Tech this year as Miss Virginia and give the Hokie Bird a hug. I cannot tell you how much I love Virginia Tech, and I swear I'm not paid to say this. I went to another university before I went to Virginia Tech. And I went there because it was really highly ranked. Everyone told me that it was a great idea. It was the best school I got into. And I literally hated it. It was the worst thing that I ever did. It was not the right place for me. I felt alone. I felt like none of my teachers really cared. And I transferred to Virginia Tech. And that's actually what brought me to Virginia originally. And the minute I got into Blacksburg, I felt like everyone wanted to help me. Nobody wanted to just leave me alone and let me fail. There's such a community there that every person wants to help everyone else. I cannot express how excited I am that I got to go there and spend 4 years in Blacksburg. And it has been probably one of the most probably my proudest moment was graduating from Virginia Tech and being able to walk away with 2 degrees from that university. And I am consistently working for Virginia Tech now. I'm actually going to be at graduations. They have a speaker that is the commencement speaker that shares the message with the graduating class. And this year at Virginia Tech, I get to be the commencement speaker for the class of 2020. I'm so excited by that. So I cannot recommend Virginia Tech enough, especially if you are looking at a science or engineering career. Perfect place for that. There are, of course, degree programs that they don't have, like nursing. So a lot of my friends who wanted to be nurses couldn't get their nursing program there. But if there's a degree program that they have that you're interested in, I cannot say enough good things about Virginia Tech. So I could go on and on. Go Hokies. I mean, seriously, I love it so much.
Thank you so much. Okay. Do you have security guards that walk around with you when you go out in public? I think is the question.
That's a fun question. Normally, no. Right after I won Miss America, they took me directly to New York City so I could be on the Today Show and go around New York and do like a media tour. I had security with me in New York City because everyone knew that I was coming there to be on these shows. But other than that, I've never had security with me. I always have a person that travels with me to make sure that I get to where I need to be on time and just to be kind of like another set of hands, because it would be a lot to travel across the country by yourself and try to go to all these events. And also kind of for security, but they're not like a security guard. They're kind of like having like a second mom with you. No security. Sometimes I feel like I need security though, because some people can be kind of like weird. So it's very interesting. I haven't had too many like scary or creepy experiences yet. And of course I don't need security in my house right now because I'm home.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see. What is your favorite thing about Miss? I'll ask you two in this one because this might be. What is your favorite thing about Miss America? And then do you plan to go on to be Miss Universe?
What is my favorite thing about being Miss America? I think my favorite thing about being Miss America is that it's helping me with my career, even though I'm taking time off from school. So I don't think I mentioned that. I'm taking 2 total years off of my pharmacy education to do this job. I can't go to school and do this at the same time. So I was a little worried at first that I would be behind. And I'll be behind academically, but I can go back and finish that. But this is like having a paid internship. And if you guys have ever heard of an internship, it's basically like working and learning at the same time. And that's how I feel like this job is. And I think that's my favorite part because I talk so much about medication safety, because I'm a pharmacist, I'm learning how to do that, and I get to do these things at the same time. So that's probably my favorite part. And just seeing people's reactions when they get to meet Miss America. This organization has been around for 100 years. And quite literally, when I crown the next Miss America, she will be the 100th anniversary Miss America. How cool is that to be? It's like being part of history. But will I continue on to Miss Universe? No, because there's a Miss USA and a Miss America, and they're 2 different people. It's kind of like Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Like they're both kind of like cola sodas, but they're like different ones. So Miss USA gets to go to Miss Universe. Miss America can only be Miss America. She doesn't get to go to Miss Universe. So I actually can't go even if I wanted to.
Thank you. I did not know that either. That's really interesting. Thank you so much for answering that. Another question was, when were you diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos, and how does it affect your everyday life?
Amazing question. So I have something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's a genetic connective tissue disorder. So maybe you've heard of something called collagen. Collagen is a protein. It makes your skin hold together. It's in every single cell that you touch. And mine doesn't work correctly. And so I was diagnosed when I was 11, and they found out I had scoliosis, so my spine is curved the wrong way. And my doctor was like, you have something else going on here, because my joints didn't work right. I was scarring a lot. I had a lot of bruises for no real reason. And it turns out I had this genetic disorder. It pretty much, I'm trying to figure out how to describe this. It's like having a little bit of the flu all the time, but also being really flexible. So think of like you overstretch something and maybe your joint would get sore. So that happens to me all the time. So my body is a little bit sore all the time. And some days are worse than others. Some days I feel fine, but some days I literally feel like I'm sick. But I'm not. It's just my body really struggling. I get really tired. I take a lot of naps. And so when I'm doing my job as Miss America, sometimes I'm running for 12 hours a day. And it's exhausting. And so it's been difficult to manage the disorder that I have and being Miss America. But more than anything, taking care of myself is the most important thing to being able to help me get not better, because it's not something that can go away, to stay as well as I am. So I work out a lot to keep my muscles strong. I eat good food. I try to get enough sleep, and I drink a lot of water. And those are really the only things that I can do to make sure that I stay healthy. So not really any different than any of you, but it's just so important to me to have to do that so that I can do my job well.
Awesome. And I agree, too, that those are all important things so that all of us can do our jobs well. That's great. How did you feel being Miss America and with what's going on right now, like the coronavirus? Does it make it harder or?
Yeah, it makes it really hard. Literally, I said this organization has been around for 100 years. There's only ever been 2 other situations like this in Miss America's history. When I think it was World War II in like the late 40s, early 50s, where Miss America couldn't really do her job because the country was shut down because of the war, and 9/11. And this is the only other time other than that the country has shut down. And inherently, my job as Miss America is to travel around and go to events. So I can't do that right now. And I've learned how to be creative. And when we think about like science, I'm always going to bring it back to science. Being innovative and being creative is such an important skill. And that's something that I've had to really use a lot of right now. So I'm doing a lot online. I'm producing a lot of videos. If you guys like YouTube, I'm starting to make like a series of YouTube science videos. So I'm learning how to do video production in my basement. Lots of new skills that I'm gaining. To answer your question, the job has definitely been very hard to do virtually, but I'm doing my best. We're all figuring this out together, but it's kind of disappointing because there were a lot of events I wanted to go to in person and now I can't. So we can take what we can get.
So there's one last question that was an awesome question. I know our students are super excited about science, and one of our students asked if there are any kind of experiments or anything that maybe you'll be posting or you could send that they are able to do at home.
Absolutely, and that goes right along with what I was just saying about YouTube. So I have currently 2 demonstrations up on YouTube that you can do at home. They're specifically designed to be done at home. One of them is the elephant's toothpaste that I showed you guys, and I show you guys how to make it with regular hydrogen peroxide from your house and just yeast that you would use to bake. So that's one. There's another one on how to make corn plastic. So it's literally making plastic out of cornstarch. This week, I'm going to be filming how to make DNA out of Twizzlers and mini marshmallows. It's really fun, and you get to eat it. I'm going to do one on rock candy, how to make rock candy, and then the science of a fried egg. So those are currently on my to-do list for this week, and those will be coming up. And so if you follow that YouTube page, and I don't know if you guys use any social media, or you can ask your parents to get on their social media, but if you guys have your parents look me up on either Facebook or on Instagram, I also share all of those on there. And sometimes I'll put up little fun science tidbits and content that you guys can follow too. But YouTube is coming. It's in the works, and more videos are coming this week.
Thank you so much. I will definitely check that out, and maybe guys, I will send that out in an email to you so that you guys are able to check out that channel if you'd like. So I just want to thank you, Miss America. We are right at 2 o'clock, but I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited that we were able to chat with you and you were able to answer everybody's questions. And thank you for such a positive message. I think that's definitely something we need, especially right now.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. I'm sorry for the mishap in the beginning, but I'm glad that we got this figured out and then I got to share this with you. Oh, I see all the thank yous in the comments. You guys are so welcome. This is such a wonderful opportunity for me to be able to continue what I'm doing. And it's always great for me to be able to connect with my home state. So thank you guys. You guys are amazing.
Thank you. And guys, I opened up the chat box if you would like to thank Miss America also. Feel free to type in there. Let her know how awesome it was to have her today.
You guys are so amazing. Thank you guys. I really appreciate that. You guys are so cool. Wow, I don't think I realized how many people were on here. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you guys so much for allowing me to come in and infiltrate your school day a little bit. And I hope this is a fun break. And I hope that you learned something. And just remember to always be you, even if you're the nerdy science queen.